So. The first things that I think makes it really easy to do a haircut is to have a cape. You can get one at Sally's, and a big towel does work, but this works just a little bit better because it covers everywhere. And you don't have like a gap that you're trying to, or the towel will like bunch up and you get kind of hair everywhere. And this helps the hair fall out, and it's really easy to just not get on their legs or pants or anything. And you can get them fairly inexpensive at like a Sally's. Okay, so what we're going to do, and we might have to move you over just a little bit because the cord may not work. He says he usually gets, he usually does clippers, and he does a 5 on this side, so just around it here, and then a 7 on top. He's going to let me play a little bit today just so that we can talk about it a little bit more. What I am going to do, we talked about, is doing a 4 on the side, so just making it a little bit shorter. Now, each guard has a number on it, and it usually has the measurements on it too, so you're working with a number. So, it's been a really rushed morning, so bear with me. So the number 4 guard is a 1/2 inch. So it says both on the guards. So if you're either talking about inches, because sometimes the guys know exactly what they want. They have the number, and they're always going to use the number. And then sometimes they're like, well, I don't know, it's kind of like this much. So you can also gauge it off of the measurements on the guards too. So first off, I'm going to do the sides and the back. And what I'm going to do is I like to go up to where the round of the head starts. And one good way that you can figure out where that is where the comb stops. The comb starts going off of the head. Can everybody see that? So it starts rounding right there. So I'm going to stop right there. Usually I'll keep my hand like right here and just buzz up like this. So that way I'm not getting any of this. Sometimes that doesn't matter if you're going to buzz it all because you're not trying to make a difference here. Or if you're only wanting to do it just a little bit of a difference, then it doesn't matter too much. But especially if you have someone with a decent amount of difference between the sides and the top, then it's good to make sure you have a stopping point. And you can also gauge it a little bit if you need to change it a little bit differently depending on the person's head shape. If it looks a little bit better, because I had one client that if I went up just a little bit further, that it slimmed down his head a little bit. So if it looks like, oh, we could try just a little bit more, then you can part it over and then just go over just a little bit more. But take baby steps, don't go too crazy. Does it matter if you do it wet or dry? So for this part, I like to do it dry because it could clog it if it's wet. That could depend on the thickness of the hair of the person, because especially if they're thick, you want to do it dry. But I just always like to take that extra precaution and not get it clogged up. But there's sometimes, so I have these few clients who have like super duper thick hair, like the thickest I've ever seen it. And I would do it dry and it would still clog. So I just have to go really, really slow and then like take all the hair off, like halfway up and then do the rest of the way and take the hair off because it wouldn't go all the way through. Just keep it straight. Don't be afraid to go back over because sometimes it just misses it because little hair likes to move. I'm stopping at the same place with the back when it rounds, but I kind of tend to play with it a little bit more in the back with each person because sometimes they may round a little sooner than others. So I'll take the scissors and maybe go up a little bit more in the back, just depending on how their head is shaped up here in the crown area. sometimes with different growth patterns and the way their hair grows, you need to come at it in a different way, especially in the back. Sometimes they have swirls in the back, sometimes it arches up, so if this way sometimes doesn't always get it. So sometimes you might have to turn it and go other ways to make sure you're getting all of it cut evenly. Thank you. But his is pretty straightforward, so that's easy. Thank you for being here. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do the perimeter around the bottom, and then I'm gonna try and put you down somewhere so I can reach the top of your head. So these are trimmers. They're the smaller ones, and these are great, perfect, ideal for doing around here, because sometimes that gets really bulky and can clip other things if you're not paying attention. So they have a preference of where they like it. Sometimes it's like right here when they want it to be a little bit lower. He likes it right here to go right off right there. So you can gauge it off of that. Now sometimes the ears aren't quite as even, so you can base it off of this, but then you need to go into the front. And then I just put my finger on each one and make sure that they're even, looking straight at them. So I'm gonna, and I do like to make these a little bit shorter because these grow faster. So I just take my comb, and you can make these pretty short because they grow so incredibly fast, I feel like. But I just bring my comb up like this, and I'll show you on the other side. So it's just like this, and then I tilt it this way towards me a little bit, so the comb is a bit diagonal. And then I just go right up like that.
Say why you're doing that again.
Because their sideburns grow really, really quickly. And so and it makes it look just a little bit cleaner if you do that a little bit shorter, and then it kind of flows into the back. And then you stand straight, and then just make that line. Just like that. Sometimes it's a little bit crazy right here, so you can also clean up that line right there to make it look nice and professional. And then I like to pull their ear down so that way it's less chance trimming it, but so that you can get right behind the ear easy to clean up around this. I don't like to go too high, because if you go too high over the ear, then it can look a little bit. You just follow the hairline that they have right here pretty much. I'm going to turn you right here. So I'll show you on this side, and then when you move, I'll turn it to go to the other side. So he has this line right here, so I'll keep following it. You don't want to go too much else into the line, because then all of these extra hairs just make it a lot more noticeable. If you go like way above it, if you were to go like up here, then it just grows. So this grows in fairly quickly, but if you were to do it above their hairline, it grows in faster. So just to be able to keep it as long as possible, try and follow, just do the least amount. So this is the line right here that I'm going to use to match it up with this. Use the shortest point and go with that. And then, do you prefer it squared off or rounded?
I don't.
Either or? Okay.
I don't really see it.
Right, yeah. And that's really funny, because some guys, they're like, I don't see it, it doesn't really matter. That makes it a little bit easier. So he wanted the line right here, mixed with this. So I'm going to initially do it with that, and then make sure it's even. What I was saying over there too is that you want to just go with the hairline. Don't get too happy and create this big circle up above your ears, because that sometimes can not look so natural. Sometimes I go up like this. I go up above the ears, and then tilt the comb again at a diagonal to get all of these extra ones. And just be real careful. I mean, with the trimmers, it's not like you're gonna yank someone off. I mean, it's not gonna hurt you, but it's just always safe to be a little bit cautious. And then when I get done with that part, I always like to go down as far, like to where the collar would be. Sometimes men they only have some hair right there, so that's fine. Unlike my husband who has it everywhere. Then I will take the cape, tuck it in the shirt like this, and go down just to get all those extra little hairs. So with the scissors, I like to do it wet. If you're having a particularly hard time blending the hair though, then maybe you want to do it dry because you can see it a little bit easier. Because wet hair can lie. It looks nice when it's wet, but when it's dry, it's not. So it's if you're going to do it wet, then now if I was just going to buzz it, then I wouldn't. I would just leave it dry and buzz it too. Just like before, but I'm going to show you a few things that I would do if your husband's hair is a little bit longer on top, or if you would like it a little longer on top. Okay, so blending is the first key, right? We're going to blend the sides, because obviously they're different. If you're wanting the this style where it's like super duper long on top and has that part, then you find out where you want your part to be, go ahead and put it where you want it. And then the excess is what you're going to work with, because that's where they're going to style it, is to the side. One thing you need to establish though is your husband going to style it like that all the time? And if he's not, like my husband, then you have to just kind of forget those screws a little bit. But he likes to, so I like it when it's nice and parted over to the side and a little bit kind of fun up front. But he wants to let it dry just like this. So my haircut, it's got him having like this really weird angle when it's down in front. So I have to cut it so that way it can lay like this, but that way when he styles it by himself, it doesn't look too funky. So that's something you can do at the end if he's like my husband. You can do what you want with the haircut, and then at the end just make sure that however he's going to style it, it doesn't look too crazy. So one thing you can do is you can go straight up with the comb, just like this, and just take the excess. Make sure you're keeping it straight. So I like to kind of have my hand rested here on his head, and then just go up lightly, like this. That's one way to do it. Or on this side, you could take it and just go back. Like if this is the side and you're wanting all of this to blend, you can go straight and pull it up, hold it with your fingers, and you see this line. You just want to make it straight. So a more blunt cut is going straight up like this. If you're, and thin hair is good for blunt cuts because it makes it look a little bit thicker. If his hair is super thick and it'll show the line, then you need to do it at more of a point cut, which is like at a diagonal, like this. And that's a little bit more blended look. Since we're going to buzz it, I can show you these two different techniques. Or you can just go straight. And then just go all the way back. Just take little bitty movements so that way you're making sure you're getting all of the hair all the way back. Same around the back. So you can go. When you're doing this, be careful you don't go in and cut your fingers. So when I'm doing it, I'm shutting the scissors as I'm going out. I'm not cutting and going in, I'm cutting while I'm going out. So that's you're less likely to cut your fingers.
Sydney, is there a way to blend it with the clippers too, or do you only love the scissors?
So I have only, if I'm going to do it with the clippers, I have only done it with the comb like this, and I just go up like this. Yeah, losing it. Or just like the sides with this, with the side rims. If you figure out how you want it, if you're wanting it straight up or if you're wanting it a little bit, then you can tilt your comb. The only thing with this is just make sure it's the same angle throughout the whole back or wherever that you're going. Have you ever like gone in like this and blended it?
Have I?
Yeah, with the clippers.
The clipper over comb. That's usually how I blend it. It's the clipper over comb.
Do you do it straight across, or have you ever like kind of point cut it?
I don't do the point cut thing. I usually just hold it vertical and.
Right. So you can do it that way, or you can do it this way. It's more of a guarantee I feel like to get it blended when you're holding it like this. Okay, now on the top, I want to show you one more thing. And then we will. All right, so when you're going, we'll just say we're going to go this way. Oh, okay, so to figure out which way is best is to look at the way that the hair is growing. If it's coming out of his head and going one way or the other, or if it's not really forcing itself one way or another, then you can probably work with it how you want it, but he has a cowlick right here that says I want to go this way. So we're not going to fight it, and we're just going to go with this way with it to show you what I'm going to do. How I do the top with scissors is I take it from right here, when we did this blending right here, I'm going to take it and pull it up. And then this is where you depend on how long you want it to go to the side. So if you're just wanting to blend it all the way through and it's a shorter cut, then you would just blend it straight across like this. If you're wanting to have the long swoop where it's a lot longer and then it lays over, then you just keep moving it out and out and out, further out, the way you're blending it. So it's just more of an angle. So this hair can only go this far, so it's going to be about this short. But if you wanted it to be longer, then you can slightly blend it, but you're only taking off a little bit on the sides. So that way it has more hair to lean over. Does that make sense? Okay, because that's kind of confusing. So with this part, I'm just going to take this part and blend over to here. A little bit further back. Make sure you're just going a little bit, just taking a little bit at a time to make sure you get all of the hair. I probably would do straight across with his hair because it's a little bit finer. Just so that way it gives it a little bit more of a blunt look, which can make it look thicker. Just like if you're wanting your hair cut on the bottom and you want a really, really heavy line to make it look like you have more hair, you do a straight across cut. Or if you have a lot of hair, then you do more of like a, it could be a V-look, or you could like point cut it across, so that way it gives it a little bit of texture to the bottom of it, so it doesn't look as heavy if you have thicker hair. The same type of principle applies here. And then I go across again, just moving a little bit closer to this side. Because I'm going towards this side, I start on this side and go that way. And then I just go up this way and go all the way back. And then till I get to this point. And then I'm just blending it right here to where that shortest piece is. So that way it just lays. Like so. Okay, any questions with that?
With using just a different color. Is that
Yeah, that is a way to do it. If I'm gonna blend it, like so, if he wanted a 7 on top and a 3 on the sides, then I would take a 7 everywhere, and then I would take just go down and take a 6, and then just go slightly under it. Like so, if you're wanting to start blending it here, then take the 6 here. And then do a 5, and then take it halfway over the 6 was, and then go down. And then if he's wanting the 3, then just take the 3 up the rest of the way.
And then, do you kind of go down instead of just like a straight angle?
So you kind of have to figure out where or how his head is working, because they're all shaped just a little bit differently. Sometimes you need to, sometimes it needs to be taken straight across. So with his head, are you looking straight?
Yes.
Okay. With his head, I would take it down ever so slightly. And then you could take your comb afterwards and just make sure it's all, there's a straight line there. And you could take take it afterwards and just kind of make sure you've got all those loose hairs.
And so will it naturally kind of fade together?
If you're doing it in those guards like that, yes. If you're not and you just have 2 guards, then you need to take the clippers or in your comb and blend them together, which is something else that you can do.
As long as it made a line.
One way that you can also try and make sure that that doesn't happen is angling your clippers too, because it kind of can have the same effect as a comb, right? You got this, so just angle it a little bit more and keep going over, because you're not going to make this any shorter once you cut it. So you can just keep going up a little bit till it blends it in. Yeah.
Can I say something, Sydney?
Yes.
Because like men's haircuts are not my forte. Like I have to work pretty hard to make them look good, I feel like. And so one thing, if you're noticing there's a line and it's not blended, you can do what she was doing where she was like grabbing her hands. And if it's not, so if it's not blended, you can grab your fingers and pull it out. And if there's ever, like it'll have like a point where it's not blended. So you basically just want to cut that point off.
Find that
You
point.
see when she was blending it and there's like a point in the hair. Or you can get the comb and do the same thing, like pull the comb out and there will be like a point in it, and that's where you need to blend. So you basically just want, when you're blending, you want there to be like a
I have the Whale brand. Wall brand.
I don't know, it might be well, I don't know. That's what
I like this one
like
pretty
Wall's
good.
pretty good.
But I've used a few others, but I can't name them off the top of my head. And but it seems like, I think, let's see, do you remember how much you paid for yours?
Mine were like 80 something.
Yeah, I think it was like $80 and above is when I'm feeling like it's a pretty good quality. Like these clippers, these trimmers right here, I think these were $100. And I don't know, you can feel them if you want. I just really love the way that they feel when you hold them.
And they're
So I would say with
but
them,
they'll last forever.
Yeah, that's
because
what
yeah.
Because I'm just sending
Yeah.
it somewhere else.
I mean, because we're paying for a professional grade, so that means we could do 20 haircuts in a day every day for 7 days, and they last for a while. So if you're just using them every 4 weeks or however often that you cut your husband's guy's hair, then it should last an incredibly amount longer.
And I assume it's the same with scissors. Like, I mean, how much do you guys spend on scissors?
So that gets really pricey. I mean, you could go out to, so that pair, my other pair, so I have a wet pair and I have a dry pair.
Okay.
And my wet pair, and that's just because, you know how sometimes if you're cutting paper or if you're cutting string, it could be different textures. Well, it's the same with wet hair and with dry hair. So these are $800 scissors, but my other ones are $400 scissors. So, I mean, they can get really pricey. Sorry. With going different directions too, this applies on the top because everyone has a swirl in the back here. So just going this direction is sometimes not always going to get it. Alright, I'm just going to go around the sides and blend and we'll be done. Round of applause for our lovely model. So, I mean, if you want to come up here, you can see like there's a little corner that she's talking about that you're just wanting to blend away.
Sydney, this is unrelated to the haircut, but your apron, is it made of the same material as his?
It's a little bit different because this is just for cutting the cape, and the apron is good for color too, so it won't, like if I'm working with lightener or bleach, and it won't make the
apron have polka dots all over it.
So it's a little bit different. But I do have some that are like that are just
I was
used
curious
for
if it just
cuttings.
makes the hair fall off. Because I
It does.
cutting my husband's hair and getting hair everywhere.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah,
easiest
yeah.
thing ever.
Can you have like a full body? I was gonna lay down my shirt.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
This hair is the worst.
There was a saying we said in my salon that if you found food in your hair, that you didn't worry because most of the time it came off of you anyway. Because you end up with so much hair all over you, cutting hair all day, every day. Hi, buddy. So you just want to spike it up. Then instead of pulling it down and making sure it looks a little better, I'm going to pull it up and make sure it's blended. So there's just a few little extra hairs that I'm going to trim right up here. Okay, there we go. Any other questions? Alright, so I checked it when it was dry and it looks pretty good. We'll give him a little bit of spiky right there. And there we go. Thank you very much.